So, good morning to you all.
Sanjay Sura Tamjagata, Nimbu Tandata Karisana, Yabarjua, Koala, Yabarjua, Ninjungism de Resungara, Tiende Karsura, Koalia, Kovene, Longula Sobatis, Sama Tamjelia, and it Tungi Ranshin and the Samni. You remember Jungse Jameva, and Ninjungisam Bakavati, Sanjay Gitinit and Bening Bures, yeah, this is left. Solo cut the match cure.
There, yeah. I got this one, it's okay. Well, maybe yours is. It's in this, in the blue book. Page 31. And it has it in the right order. This one doesn't have it in the right order. 31. Well. So on Je Tsongkhapa said in his three principal aspects of the path, or another way of translating that is guiding principles of the path. I will explain, as well as I am able, the essence of all the teachings of the conqueror, the path praised by the conquerors and their spiritual children, the entrance for the fortunate ones who desire liberation. So, here, the essence of all the teachings of the conqueror is referring to the determination to be free, where one views the places and the resources and any of the bodies that one might attain in cyclic existence as only bringing suffering, and then you have no wish for them at all and turn away from them. Well,
oh yeah, no did. Narazu Karsore, Rabji de Tambuda, even Nidora, Tambuka, some Metabashayora, Shua Metabashayora, and then Nibe Kapsu, Tunga Shayora, Tingan to Shesarwa, or the Deco, Metaba Samlutande, send it out to Tangi member. So Metabares, Kawachimach dog, Ursula. The Nikawachimach said the young Songitung and Yandra tender near Yandrina dry and Songitung and little Leoris and Samluta. Songitung Elian, Kawachi, Teletended Lochene, and no one to Lamikovan Tonich Loche. Oh, Tenet a mother, Lada Mikovan de Aco, Dungajiran Shinchare, Samne, nearly Longela Soba, let a Yamu and quite your lunch in Jedelia. Sama Dungajiran Shinchare, Samne, Kualang Yabanjung and Ninjung Samloke. Oh, Tingy Bude, Javasura continuing between Esche, Nibanjung at Sungiora, Tinganzo de Java, Tambuta, Nibanika Sushi Sara, or this Sumbekas, Sumbatia Dora.
So in the first three chapters, we had impermanence and the topic was impermanence, suffering, and then I think it's mitsawa means what? Abandoning cleanliness is the way it was translated. So then, or cleanness, I can't remember which one. So anyway, these are the contemplations that bring about this wish to leave cyclic existence, is another way of translating, or a determination to be free. And if you approach these from thinking that in your next lifetime you don't want to have any, you don't want to take rebirth in a miserable realm, either as an animal, hungry ghost, or hell being, and then you engage in the practices or cultivating the 10. What do you say? Avoiding the 10 non-virtuous deeds and cultivating the 10 virtuous deeds. If you engage in that practice, then you attain you would attain a fortunate rebirth. But then, so that's one understanding. That's sort of the first level of the determination to be free of an unfortunate rebirth. But then, once you've attained this fortunate rebirth, then you see that it's not a situation where you're actually going to be free of any kinds of and free of suffering. And so then you have the determination to be completely free of the whole of cyclic existence, and this is the second and final meaning of the determination to be free.
Tene kende tandu namjin jungo desigdo, tene rabji di shiba degi bangazo. Rabji shiba degi dame ba shegi ora. O di ende ko keji njura shenji medaba. Ane lenyo ji shenwa shenji dungewa yinde. Yi kyowa kebe shi misawa sido, yi kyowa kebe shi koye ne lulungji pinso karir tebe yina ya. Yi kyowa kebe shi sonza. Ane ngada ngayi si. Dagir chamewe bares, nga ngayi samsage, nga jeyi kingba chamerik bares, dagir chamerik bares, rangi luyi na longchoyi na, shida dagi ngayi samsa shida tenya yo mares, kazi ko dunga jiranga shinchi shiding shingere doas, oti sunguyara, rabji shiba digi nga zo. Yeah.
So then, those first 3 chapters then, you where you're developing this understanding of impermanence, then once you understand that things are changing, or in a constant state of change, then you'd see that we're under the power of something else all the time, and then you understand this condition of suffering that we're in, and then then if you add to this, then an understanding of ourselves as being unclean, or impure is another way of thinking that. Then what arises from this is a disenchantment with cyclic existence. And then, so that's the first 3 chapters. Then the 4th chapter is selflessness. So then at the point of having this kind of disenchantment with cyclic existence, then you understand that you turn your attention to how the self, let's say, then you see the self, this feeling of I and this feeling of mine. You see how you turn your attention to how these are mistaken. Yeah, and then that they're all the result of a kind of ignorance with regard to this, what is the self and the mind, and then so you set about to understand selflessness.
Oh yeah, ko rabji tangbo jiba sumba shiba de gedero. Ani koala ngebar jongo ba. Koye kyon samne koala ngebar jongada. Ani ji koye zawa da dagrin zimba yimbe ne da meba. Ngada ngai samsang samlu ma chungru ta ya. Da meba to be tawa shegdo. O diche. Diche bala tene. Ani kansa de samlu kono ko dunge jirang shire. Telenga ngesu dunge jirang shire telenga tarwa chegu. Kwa dunge jirang shire telenga tarwa chegu samne tarwa tendo nyenge ngodul hami ko ban tendo nyene. Ti tendo al benge chigyo yora. O tene ka chegu wambu no samdo o nga chegu dunge jinaro kwa dunge jirang shire marange pamata simje nyenye do simje sangma tamje yanga de chigba dunge jirang shire kwa al korde yore. Nga chegu kwa al tarwa samutana de mare. pamar jube simje tamje ngade chekbare samma dewandola tunge mendobara tamje tunge da trawachi tandu tunge da trawachi chago gure teche tunge ngara kyonko se yonde kunde tabde shirwa kanga tarchingenchi sanjeji kobande tobachena 되는 게 상막도 좁도 그래 삼네 산지지 고방 톰되게 멤버심지 되고 던지 파기 와라 던지 고 삼로 코트기 와라 어디라 딩딩이 좀 장심 양답에 따와 숨가두고 와라 어야
and then so then once you have understood the faults of cyclic existence and then that this understanding of our misunderstanding of the self and that which is in the mind, then you turn your attention to what do you say, freeing yourself from the cyclic existence and including the starting with freeing yourself from the unfortunate realms, and freeing yourself from the whole of cyclic existence, then at that point you can turn your attention towards the all of the other sentient beings and say, oh, they're just like me, they're in this same situation, and then you have what arises is a concern, a care for others, such that then you want to help them to be free from their suffering, and you consider, well, how could I bring that about? And then there's an understanding that you can't do it yourself, but that if you become a Buddha, somebody who's completely free of all faults and has all good qualities, then you would be able to bring this the welfare, or in the sense of their freedom from suffering, about, and for all living beings. So then you have this wish just sort of naturally arises from this situation, an aspirational spirit of enlightenment, or spirit of awakening, where you have this altruistic wish for awakening for the sake of others. So in this case, then all three of the guiding principles of the determination to be free, the spirit of enlightenment is our translation, and then the correct view of emptiness. All three guiding principles have been brought into action.
Oh yeah, ninjung de tandanga ranzo kowe ne lu la soba pusum zo wate sama tamjel pa sem tsel and debar je shuk de yora Shenji Chak de Yora, Shugula Num Timbanesh, Betsu Kagache, Kaburiche, Nayet and Nayes to Chachiba, Zangiora, Odi Shenja de Wange, and a condo down Tado and Yumukanga Giora, or deeper Shenja de Su, Betinja de Su daughter, Kagache Tondalia, Gun the Shagdo, Ninjun said Yungiora, Koyakin Siji Samutandi. And again, you say, call by Shenji Chabashu Chimbote, Mabshayora, decoy Kuchiora. Oh, that is Shenji Chaba the country map so that's it. Damebas and Natangai, some Lushu Chimbo. Nais and the source of the two charge Bekanga, Kagachi Mengan, Tangishora. Oh, did Tadus and Batata Taggins and Batiungores. Sawat Shagdoa. Oh, Tita never so earlier. And Nadanges, Dungager and Shicheredoa. Yakushivijinadanga is lab sugarite. Could do it and get ready to attach it on a year, Nes Pendoman gets ready or Nalamego get out of ready to or the indico, Nadanga is some Lushu Chimbate, Tartan Sawate, Timab Swell, Tamil Congores. Oh, dear Ajibumare, Simjet Jandati, Simjet Tamject, Tabatu Tabshichevores. Take Arjimbasetanga. Junko say and Dekunde, Ganga Shenge, Ganga Sangbu Tarchimba, Shiro Tarchiba Chigi, some Janju Semjetisum Diunguda.
So this spirit of enlightenment comes about through the determination to be free. The determination to be free is where you see that you have this craving or clinging to the places, bodies, and resources of cyclic existence, and then it's through this clinging then what arises is all the different kinds of afflictions, we call them, the emotional afflictions or afflictive emotions. Sorry, and just simply the afflictions is the term I'm going to use, and so then you have to do something to reduce this clinging or craving for the places and resources and bodies of cyclic existence, and so then this is, you see that this is based upon our mistaken conception of the self, and that would and the what did you say, the I and the mine, and so then you set about to somehow reduce that. You can reduce some of the clinging by seeing the faults of cyclic existence, but in general. But then, if you see the faults and this kind of clinging, this kind of grasping of the self and the mind, then that undermines that clinging and craving for the wonders of cyclic existence, and once you kind of reduce that craving and clinging, then what happens is that you can turn your attention to others, and then there's a concern for, you have a concern for others and seeing them in the same situation as yourself, and then so you develop this altruistic spirit of enlightenment that takes others into, cares about others, and then you're seeing that in order to help others, you need to, you can bring your all the different virtues to perfection by attaining Buddhahood. So bringing your compassion and generosity and wisdom all to perfection, and attain Buddhahood for their sake in order to bring about their welfare.
Jagason Rab Kunji Ning Betes, Rab Jing as a Tambusum Gikap Sumbanashi, and a Ninjunche. Geshe Tambanam Yangak Belam said, and the Chanju Sem, Geshe Chanju Sembanam Belam, Rajibu, Kuala Yabanjan, Kuala Tandu Maiba, Pamar Yubesimja Tamjeya, Kuala Tarva Chegu, Techidu, Sanji Kova, Netapshi, Techidu, Sanji Kova to be some. Geshe Tambanam Yangak Belam Chanju Sem Shegdua. Can the Tandu Namjungo days do, Koa Dungi Mevasola, not Damebade, Tarvandova Namje. Jubengo, Jusa de Samlutansa de Caresne, Damebe, Tata Dagi Mebe Tongani, Congolese, or Nijujansi Antabitawasum, Shegdua, or Dinganzo, Rabji City Shesara, or Dinashita and the Simjetam Jetumeda Teorcha, Techedo, and Sanjikova Tobercha, Nyambe, Chanju Sem Gebati, Shegdua, Rabjitambo Shidik, Sumdik.
So then,
Rabji Tambusum de Shevanashi, who tended some Lutan Chanju Sem Gene, oh, Tenete, Nyangu some. Teach it to that, Rabji Tamade Karshegos, Navadirava, and it Mersim did Tambu Shidilitani, Basem Kigiora, or Tanga Sanjikova Tobechedo. Chanju Sembe Tombasong, Geshe Chanju Sembe Chebala, looking said, and all, and it looked Chanju Sembe Chebati, then the Rabsing Abbey Shayora, or teacher.
So that is covers that first, the essence of all the teachings of the conqueror. Then the path praised by the conquerors and their spiritual children, or the spiritual heirs, you can say as well. This is referring to the spirit of enlightenment, the altruistic spirit of enlightenment, and then so this is, and then the entrance for the fortunate ones who desire liberation. The only entrance then is this either selflessness or emptiness, the wisdom that knows selflessness and emptiness, then that is the one entrance for those who desire liberation. So so these first 4 chapters then of Aryadeva's 400, then they are the way that we have generated this determination to be free, and then at the end of those, then we've also what do you say? Generated what comes around just naturally or indirectly is this what we call the altruistic, the aspirational spirit of enlightenment, where you're wishing to attain perfect Buddhahood for the sake of all living, for the welfare of all living beings, and so then once you have that wish that I am going to become a Buddha for the sake of all beings, then you so at the end of those 4 chapters, then you turn your attention towards bringing that about, and so that's why the 5th chapter has the topic is the Bodhisattva deeds. So you set about to you take the vow of the Bodhisattva and set about to do the deeds. So the 5th chapter is about these deeds.
Oh yeah, that Samje Tamje Koya Tungele Tawarcha, Techedu Sanji Kova Tobracha, Techedu and Shidiawagi, Chanjusim Bechobal and Jobala Soba, Tezuchu Nyambarcha, Nyamdo, Kunu, Chanju Simbisim Bekon and San Roches.
So then you should make a motivate yourselves that I'm going to listen to these teachings in order, what do you say, imbued with this altruistic spirit of enlightenment to attain Buddhahood for the sake of all, for the welfare of all living beings. I myself, I'm going to become a Buddha.
Oh yeah. Member Samjit and Juba Samjit Ningudwa. Tanda Juba de Gagan, Juba Samjit, member Samjit, Tambushi de Kam the Koran Sam Korto, you are a Tanju Kotogua. Oh, that is to make the Tapshide, Sanji Kovatova Chagore, some Koi, member Kerva. Tan Juba Samjit, Samjit, Tamjek, and Lega Chetum Genki. And Sanji Kovatogudu, some member Ravache, the Mersem Sigora. Tan Juba Samjit, oh, that me chanju sembata zoge chanju sembe tomba song ani chenso paru de chemba trula lamne sanji ko ba toba chiyore tinashi ngai chigin sam chanju sembe tomba song ne ani cheba paru de chemba trula ya loba telia lomde ge semdele jugwa semje sigora tingan jun namji tongji de len rogo samna nga lega de chiga tongji den drugi samna memba de ra o da motanan ro komba je pengo sun ro son jugba ra o dinashi je sanji ko ba toba chao nyamdo yi memba che 다 토비에 된다라 장주선배 돈바송네 파루 침발레가 되고 지금 있음 죽버들은 죽버선 비스기도 장주선배들은 멤버선 비든 죽버선 비스니 시기도 단디 죽버선 비시에는 죽버도서 시기여라 오야.
So when we talk about the altruistic spirit of enlightenment, there are two forms. One is the aspirational and the other is the engaged. So you have at the end of the 4th chapter, there's just sort of this arises this wish that to become a Buddha for the welfare of others, and so when and that's what's known as the aspirational spirit of enlightenment. I am going to become a Buddha for the welfare of all sentient beings, and so then. Once you have this mind, this wish, and then the next step would be to go about whatever it is that you need to do in order to become a Buddha. And so, just as others have traveled the path of the bodhisattva deeds and reached Buddhahood. So then you then determine that I am going to practice the bodhisattva deeds, the 6 perfections, and so forth, and reach to that same goal of becoming a Buddha. And so. This is it's the example here that given. It's very it's similar to wishing. If you, for instance, if you have some work to do in a city, you're out in the country and you need to get to the city in order to do some work, then you sort of have this first of all a wish to get there, and that's an aspiration. So you're aspiring, well, you're wishing to go to the city, and then once you get in the car and well, you've made all the preparations and you put everything in the car and you get in the car and go, then that's the actual going. So the engaged, the aspirational spirit of enlightenment is like that first attitude, and then the engaged spirit of enlightenment is like the second one, where you're actually going about it.
Yeah. 당연히 배치도 안 되도. 다들 rab지 ngaba terwa. Rabdu cheba ngaba chanchu sembe cheba temba sigdo.
So now we're going to go to the actual book here and start with the 5th chapter here.
그래서 chanchu sembe cheba temba sta niban jukba Jusim Kene Jabala Labzu Shabala Shesido, Jubasim Ges, Sanje Yakovan Tobeshedo, Janjusim be Tombati Song, and Tombason and Nashita Laguya Java Party to Chimbatazulia, Musun Jubage, then Jubasim Gesidoa. Oh, then Jubasim Kene, Jabala Lubzu Shegiora, or Delia Tanzan of Shiko and Shegidoa.
So this chapter was given a title here on page 133, but on page 312 you can see in the outline here that it's explaining how to train in the deeds having generated the practical altruistic intention. So here the spirit of enlightenment is called the altruistic intention, and the engaged spirit of enlightenment is called the practical altruistic intention. So when we so you're taking the vow of the bodhisattva, and then you're going to engage in the 6 perfections in order to reach Buddhahood for the sake of others. And this book then is, this chapter, sorry, is then divided in. Well, maybe it's not the book, and it's not the chapter. I think it's more like there's 4 parts to this anyway. Well.
This one, that Tambu Shin and the Tambu to shake your da. Where you turn said, oh, then we turn the caressna, where you turn the Louis Shung Shaba Serva, Ludi Karimba Tisha, and a Louis Saint Ambas, Liu Koranga Shungutanda Tisha, and Liu Saint Ambas Niungua. That Tambu Louis Shung Shaba del Tapanja Yungura, Louis Shung Shaba delia, Tandi Shungune de Shegiora, Louis Shung Shaba de la Topja. Debu Sanje Chawa Tembas, Topja de Sanje said, and yet Topacha, Yamaki, Topja Sanje to the Yonde Kande Yoris Tishegua, Topjan Debu Sanje Chawa Tembas. Jane?
Okay, so then the first one then is so when we're talking about how to train in the deeds, having generated the practical altruistic intention, the first part is this. The actual meaning of this, what it means to do that, and it starts with an explanation of what we're seeking to attain, and that is Buddhahood.
This one. Oh, that is she the Pajama Yungu Korana she don't do it. Then but I take you Chanju Sembe Choba, Nyamsul in Zushabas. Nibateliatini, Chanjus and Bechava Yamsulenda Cares. Sumbateliatini, Kunji, Sanjas and Geji, Truchicare, Yungone, your revested Truchiche. The law member to the Teba Chambulia, Jube, Tagbe Tusheva, said Tanzi Shegua.
So it is this 4 topics of this particular chapter. Then you can see that number 2 there, then after we've showed the greatness of Buddhahood, the resultant attainment, then there's explaining how to practice bodhisattva deeds, the cause of Buddhahood. And then on page 314 you can see there's the proof of the resultant omniscience, and showing why those with poor intelligence fear the great vehicle.
This one.
Oh,
yeah, that Tambungan to Topja Sanji, Chava de Shegiorda. Oh, Teliata, Tunzandi Sumja Shegdua, Sanjay in Zebekaba, Sanjay in Zabat, the Mixek Cavacariores, and then Zabat and then Zabalden and Jebucariores. And then Sanjay from then the Tamja Chambayina, Chirubaga to among Butrinity, Lake Mendua. The Kunji member to Chimares, Tendeshe, Tanzan, Sumde Shegdua.
So then when we talk about, when we're showing the greatness of the Buddha, the first topic, then showing the greatness of Buddhahood, then there's the distinctive features of Buddha's activities, their effect, which is the second part, and then finally, not answering 14 questions is no suitable proof for lack of omniscience. So this is where the Buddha was asked by non-Buddhists certain questions, and he did not answer those.
No, that Tambu Sanje in Zebe Kebarda, that Tambu Panje Shigura, Sanje in Zeba Kebakario, Tishegdwa. And in Arshebe, Legbar Sheba, Rimbuji, Kebar member, Regenum, Korala, Kone, Tarbat, Tondo, Yeshe, Tekbachimbu, Regenum, Ninji Shambu, Kete, Sanje, Tondo, Nere, Kundi Kangle, Yeshe, Nasigdwa. And in Arshebe, and a Legbar Shebe, Rimbuji Kebar. Member Regenum Koala Joaquin, Tengme Regendozo, and a Koala Joaquin, Tarbaton to Nigores, Sanjay Sumbanashi, Koenime Samlutane, Tujenga Shigi, and a Koala Joaquin, Ranch Chibu Tarbaton to Nigores. Tabachimbu Regenum Yan, Kansa Ringashi Sosichibu, Tende Sam Madame Shanda, some Jachimbutangi and get Tabachimbu Regentezoge. And run and she simply share and a quiet to Majin Narwa, Telia, Samlutani, Ninjikin, Tia, to get the Tevachago do something. The Heche to Sanjay Koma to Nirve, a cute in the young, the condition Yungi or Eserva, Sanjay Chusum Balatene, and the Kashek call a Tamdegilo. Kasheki Ranchibu member Simjatam Jakoala Tavichedo, Rankyunko say you never Kibuchi Chago Sambe, Samlo the Candace Court of Jukalatene, Sanjel Tende Chungares and Asgora. Tondo near Judy Kanle Yeshe station look at that shagdo.
So then, if you look on page 133, then through the actual meaning of how to train in the deeds, then begins with this through the special features of the preceding good and precious explanation, those first 4 chapters, then those of Hinayana disposition, or who are inclined towards the Hinayana, feel aversion, or here maybe become disenchanted with cyclic existence and seek liberation. Then those of Mahayana disposition, they're inclined towards the Mahayana, and having developed great compassion, seek Buddhahood. And they're not those with a Mahayana disposition means that they're not satisfied with just they're seeking their own their own aims. They want to fulfill the aims of all living beings, and so then they seek Buddhahood. And then, so what are the causes that bring about this kind of intention? And then it says, the answer to that is those causes are found in the Buddha. So then,
yes, Tekwa chimbu rigenda, tekwa membe rigjensa ora, rigjen la guive. Tekwa chimbu ngaranzule yungura, tekwa chimbu rigjen yungura, kashe tekwa membe rigjen yungura. La samlutane kashe ran chibu tarwa tonde, kashe simje shenda samlutange yungura. Rigjensa ora.
So it's important to understand this distinction of Hinayana disposition and Mahayana disposition, or inclination if you prefer. It comes to us, and, each one of us will have this kind of natural inclination, and so one is that we're working for ourselves to be free of suffering, and then the other one is we're working to free all beings from their suffering.
소소 동엘에 대화도 소 전마도 현대 자신부 삼로 코르메도 베르르시오라 가셔야 소소도 냠도 현대하게 펜도다 tin데 주엘이야 뭐보다 가보다 tin데 용게 리시 용구도와 어디 그 택진다 택매게 리그럽시 용구와라 됐단다네 가셔 소소 된다데 동엘에 대해서 라마도 현대시라 삼로 코르메도 베르르시 가셔야 그 현대를 삼로 망보단게 리그럽시 용구도와 어디서 나란주다 불람라 마슈코네 So
when we make this distinction, we're talking about, like ourselves, somebody who hasn't already entered into the path. It's before you're entering into the path, and so some of us will have this inability to sort of, put it this way, that that our suffering, our sensitivity to our suffering is so great that we just have to get rid of our own suffering. We don't have this ability to think in a broader way about all living beings. So then that's the Hinayana. So we're disposed towards the Hinayana. Then the Mahayana disposition is where some of us, and there might be those among us, who then have this ability to want to include, want to seek to free all living beings from their suffering. It means every single living being, a very broad kind of aspiration, and so then then we're just sort of naturally inclined towards the Mahayana. This is but this is before we enter the path.
Ugyan simje namla ne mele kuna yanda jung sedra. Oh, tezu tene ran tarba tondo nyewata simje tamje tondo sanje ko kan tondo nyewata so kande shungwersne sanje le tene yungwres yara. Sanje le sos. Chinde shi chena se kande shungwersne tuji chembe droa maluba tondo samje mekeben zeba shiti sanje tukzawa nyingji chembo tungne ne sanje ne samje mekeben zebal tene yungwres yara. Didare sanje namje kosumje yohanes kandere sanje namje yohanes de kosumje kuda sungda tuksige yara. Kosumje yohas jukba ase tile se tende san jukba yohas. Yohanes simjala pembe gyome bangaya yoba mindese. Sanje ge kusum toge jukba kandechi na sama simjala pemba bashigi jula mendroge chi yomares yara. Oh, ti meba rese, ti meba yindese tingzi kebe longchang do. Sere jadong pado meba ta choji kebe shabji tilen jong simje nyawa tamje siwaran juro tungye meba chene tewa nyong shedas. O simje sanje kule wesende tende trene ane kapkable ya simje leda kewande be simje ne teso nyewe tungye le soba tendele ya 차에 동에를 세워 토발을 소바 텐데게 용기어레시 거라 틀레 용기어레시라 오 되네시다 겨에 디오들이 띵지 개비 도로바 겨에 거의 템데 샤브샤지 물론 줄베 미가지유다 나베 마트 고메 손남초 대다 탐제 미가 나와도 제송 바타로스 오 텐데 산제 틀레 텐데 용기어레스 디셰도 디버도치 셴나
So then we're saying where are the causes for this found, this seeking of Buddhahood? Then they're found in the Buddha, and what is a Buddha like? So the verse answered that question. Not a single movement of Buddhas is without reason. Even their breathing is exclusively for the benefit of sentient beings. So, such a supremely compassionate person performs inconceivable activities for the welfare of all sentient beings without exception. Buddhas make no movement. This is from the verse then. Buddhas make no movement of the three doors that is not for the benefit of sentient beings. The three doors here means that here the word movement is really referring to Buddha's activities. Buddha activities, sometimes people translate it as Buddha influence, but it's really Buddha's activities of the three they're either physical, verbal, or mental activities. Then there's none of those activities are for other than for the sake of all living beings. They're only for the benefit of all living beings. And then how is to describe this kind of unusual activity? Then the author is citing two passages from the King of Meditative Stabilization Sutra. Countless hundreds and thousands of rays come from the soles of the King of the Teaching's feet, cooling sentient beings in all the hells. Freed from suffering, they enjoy bliss. And the other one is, when a conqueror places his foot on the threshold, those blind from birth, those whose ears do not hear, the protectorless, and those with small merit, all of these gain eyes and ears. Wow.
Don't do what you lost and do. Rotation to Pembala Meduba, Rangi Nangin Junga Ugyan Suda, Marazu Utanga Delake, Kulu Retanga Utangi, Tating some Resam Gumaru and Besu Yore. Oh, the Besu and Nechimgo. Station to Pembala Meduba, Rangi Nangin Junga Ugyan, Nyaba Namji Nergiting to Nergin Jikin to Sigara. Tinchambu Mingmeji Pungu Timbanabu Charba by the day. Dashi Nyawabe Yi Trok by less or Tinder Timber Mambutone and Yilia or Charbaris Babasere Samsa Nawachone. Charges or Roshimshi, Silva Babe Esse, Sanyeva Tezul Sigora. Never may Pumbu Shior Chebe Esse. Nyawa Namje Tungeda Tene Kangi Tuyus. Or the condition of some Yata du Sigora. Tunge Shior Chenyam do Sembana Sanje Yuku, Tenden Jane, Sanje Chum de Jane. Sanje Kutin de Jane Sigora. You could send it about Tony Tella Debe Tuse, and the Sanjelia Deba Jebe Tu. Sanje Kebatami Mambo Sosa, and the Chidu, Titulat and the Teleteba Jebe Tulatene, Tunge Shishi, Tarwa Chabin Jekeva Jule Jebes, or Nat and the Tungele Tarwa Chunasam, Tarwa Chabin Sigidua, Solam La Sobat and the Sigora Jebe, Ujan Simjan Namlane, Sanjeki Upa Tawada. Charging less over 10 days, 10 days to Sunguda. Negab than Tardu to Membel, Le Connors, Negab than Tardulia, Pembe, Connor, young dog were Juna, Dumbala Sok Ben Zebes, Chet Dumbala Sok Ben Zebash, and I get a Pembala, Simjala, Pendobala, Tesum K. Omaris, Yora, who can jump out at the Tinditalet and the young Giodes, Pemba. Then a dollar on Deva Namji Sanje Chum Den de la Dash Quibacho, this on the Sanje Keba Mango Sonam de Shiji saw Simjet Taya Batang, maybe turns and Sanje Basonza, Tell a Deva Chevala Tennis on Pardon Evasagi or no, or the Indian Aranzu Sangelia, Deva Chevores, Kangichon, the Deva Chevores no, Bagbe Shanji Chanju Simgon, Kevana Keva, Chimba Sutum Sevala Soba, Tindel Lomnet and the Tarchim Bekusun to you and then Dembares and Deva Chevores and good.
So we can just read the explanation here in the commentary where it says, even his breath, for instance, our breath, it takes some, what do you say, intention to breathe in and out, which flows naturally without depending on any intention, forms a huge rain cloud above the hell realms like a mound of eye ointment, fascinating the hell beings. From it falls a delicious cooling rain, making the mass of fire in the hells die down. Freed from their suffering, the hell beings wonder whose power pacified it, whereupon they see the Buddha's body adorned with the major and minor marks, or the the signs and exemplary features of a Buddha. So then the force of their admiration stills the suffering of the hells and produces in their minds virtues concordant with the attainment of liberation. Means that they attain the virtues that are concordant with entering into the path of accumulation. So it's through the force of their faith in seeing the Buddha, so then it says, thus, if even his breathing is exclusively for the temporary and ultimate welfare of sentient beings, what need is there to mention the benefit of activities such as the teaching? So those interested in their own good should have faith in and respect the Buddha, the supermundane victor, so that, and we understand that the Buddha has such an unusual ability with his form, then so then we're aspiring to be Buddhas in that way, and to become Buddhas in that way. Well,
no, yeah. Then the thing I was on them Jews, Sanjay Kusun to the good up to the Yudu, Jago Yora. Gares the thing I was Chitang shoe part of the nation, some Jumera. Gares the co Sanjay the Keba Mongolia, son of the she saw some jetamject and Kulekum Basonza Tigi, Chinlab Litan, and Dragood of Jinjari and Sunamabusato Giora. Thank you, Channel.
So then, although we don't have we haven't actually seen a Buddha in this way, but we, dependent upon an image or some kind of whether it's a picture or so forth of the Buddha, then in dependence upon that, then because the Buddha has this special body that has such unusual, such special qualities and unusual abilities, then if we seek to just to see or to meet with that even a representation of the Buddha, then it has this ability to create a great amount of merit for us. Well.
Oh yeah. Tanga zo pede labnerwa. Ziblo jeje kelon trigur kengi kimdo yar kelangbe chongan drebata rosigdwa. O ziblo je kelon ji yo enserdo kelon ji che. Deko trigur chala mambo so dengenge soda keba shi yo era. Kogi tene koran yar kelen kelon zolia yar chabatan be tuzi dele kon dawa ni se sumzi tele Tusilia, Yarkenes, Chilol Shadam Hajimbiche, Nalol Cheshe, the Tindre, the Sula Council, Tabuja, Tindeshe, Yarse Kelinchi Yora. Oh, Tindesi Kera Yar Gingan Deng and Nangla Shu, and it saw such a Kanga Koran Pushere. Then the Koran Tonga Lamadilla Kogata, Kiran Duamang Sugar that is a fune. Then it can de Shuba Laja in Squeen Cigar. Oh, then it Mango Purire. Tene kelon de la anga de kiran toji cheda ya buche so se tanga nga de ne kiran sal de amado kiran lega ke pendo lega ke che yo mare ngalaja de ko mare se yo ra karjente yo re se o de kiran ge de ne son de ngazole pendo majebe chige yo mare se re pendo majebe chige yo mare pendo majebe kab yo mare se ne ko mando no soja do ko tene kolo do ko re Color code milk koya chalatin mangbutin sotubgiora. And sotubu color to the kanga milapaya koya pento chalashi sudoasa. Or dinashi to talk to Kirangantul pendo chigiorese. Tico in Yeshe. Tunda Karsigorasena. Sanje de ko 2000 Semjing Tundala Kongbarwa. When the Chanju symbol Yungudwa. Chanju symbol to the Chanju Sem Kesasuna, Ninia de Nada, Jamu de Sigunadako, but the Payan. Subject Sanjay Komaton Payne Yungi Sigdwa. Then I shake a load up to join a so she said sorry about on a saw check me, Jackson shake me, chick message, Banja Punk, Kawati Trugi is killing Yora. The end of Kokadu Yenati, Pambe Payne de Yonde Yora. Shanna Pembe Kawati Young but the Yores. Then the Kirangi Pendo Majeva Capture or Mariso this Yora.
So then the story that illustrates this is about let me see, there was a monk, this is during the summer when it's the monsoons, I think, and yeah, because it's raining so hard outside. So then the nuns would go inside, and so then to keep out, and that would go on for like three or 4 months. And so then this master mechanic offered a support for a monk, and he stayed in the basement of his house where there were many machines doing mechanical work. So this apparently is donor was had a factory that was functioning during this time, and so the monk remained on the premise as his host wished and did not leave the house. Bidding him goodbye when the summer was over, his host gave him money for a set of robes and told him it was payment for his work. Then the monk said, "I haven't done any work for you. Why should I accept this payment? What have I done?" And he, in the Tibetan, the word guyun is just there's this what do you say? A custom of giving money to monastics. So then, why should I accept this payment? And then his host told him that he had done nothing but work during his stay, and then took him to see machines and what had been manufactured. He was taking him to show him an illustration of that the just as these machines were constantly working, that you also were constantly working for the benefit of all beings, but for my benefit. And he felt he had this feeling that once we this is the Buddhist teaching. It has a special quality. That, for instance, like once you've generated this spirit of enlightenment, you could be sleeping, you could be whatever you're doing, you're generating an amazing amount of merit, because it's all for the because whatever you're doing is for the sake of others. So then, and it's similar also to how when monastics choose to abandon any harm to living beings and just to take on a life of non-violence, and just by taking that vow and keeping that, then they're constantly working for the sake of others. That's something that is illustrated then by these machines. Well,
Tini mudilla kodi tipa panya ke kyawate togira. Then samluke mata then mimasena ko sokju pambe kyawato ke yomara. Chindipsin ko desha mike segmar de mis se pambe kyawage togumarwa. Tini ko rabdi chongrini chisi soye baduse kashi sangye ye baduse arab tinde yora. Te ngarazu tagas mi ina ko o diri nimulange mil chawachi me a samsala. Samludane. Titambe chawa mejbe penyu top de yora. Di men tagas de ko penyu top eke yomara chawa de che yomara de. Di che yusara.
So it's important to understand this distinction that you have to make some kind of a pledge to, and based upon that, then whatever you do during the day will fulfill that pledge. And so, for us lay people, we can approach it in that way. But for monastics, they take a vow. So it's whether you take a vow or not. But monastics then have this vow, and sometimes the vow is until the end of their life, and sometimes it's until they become enlightened. So these vows, then whatever they're doing, it's going towards fulfilling these vows, and so it's a constant, like for monastics, it's not being violent, and but we laypersons. Well, I'm saying that, but we occasionally saying we could also get up in the morning and make this vow to not to not be of any harm to others. And so then today I'm not going to do anything harmful to others. So that means that anything you do during the day will go towards this not being, avoiding being harmful to others. Otherwise, if you just sort of get up in the morning and go about your business, and then you don't get this benefit of that kind of a pledge that carries through the whole day.
Setirwa. Niba ten Jebusidwa. Karshe Guesne, ten Jebusido Tang Madalia Chinswa, Sanjin Zebe, Kebar Sheba, Yusum Duatade. Topjen Jebu Sanji Chawatamba, Sierra, Telesumdua, Tenaneta, Sanjin Zebe, Kebar Set and the Sherwa, ten Jebusidwa, Sanjin Zebe, Kebar Jebu, oh, Tishegdwa, Tijila.
So then the next part starts at the bottom of page 134. It just didn't have a separation between the bottom two lines and the previous paragraph. So here the topic, as you can see on page 313, is that their effect means what is the effect of Buddha's activities like this. So then this next verse will be describing that. It's all within this, showing the greatness of Buddhahood, the resultant attainment.
Oh, Nibate, Drebu Nese, Sanjela, Nyawar Temba, Nam Nese, Sanje Jomdendelia, Nyawar Temba, Capsun Dongea, Chesun Jubas, Yerisigura, Chiven Jigbala, Tuben Jigba, Tamjela, Tower and Jurdese, oh, Rimgitene, Sanje Chiven Jigbala Soba. And Jigba Tamjela, Koyan Jigba Tamjela, Tandures, Yordo. Oh, take under this, Jigda Kunla Chida, nothing as Sanjela Namju Kashe Dedoa, Chua Meda Walla Soba, and Chitin, June, the Shiji, Kobushe Shed, Sanje Chudi Karsore, Milishena can get it, Jigba Shena can get it. Namju Kundu, the Lambri Sunju Sungudua, and the Lamachi Yorese, Lamachi, Lamati Serve Robachi Yora, and they take along the Maverick, Kotugan to the Kawandro Sonset, Carpet Sonset, Lama Carpets, Lama can go down, can go to Shenakuka Pepsonse, Jinake, Shejueva. Shushan Jigju to Sigara, Shenakuka Pepsons, Kutsamatation, what dinner she Mitawari, Chiwaji, Sudu, Milishanakukis, Chaviora, the Shanade Soso Shever Matoshanakuyamara, such one Metawa that is shady, Mashiba Shaja Petty, Sulan Jigmiguya Sugiora, Chua Metawa, Samlotana, oh, not Chivit, that Kadina Chigri, some Tigapa, Kiawatu, Miller Robacha, Sawapa, and Litana. Eko Shina Kushina Meroko. When Jiba Mayat and Dala, to let the young you are the Kunyan and Samlotan Tidi, Captain the Chagiora, Timelse, Tirimato Shanaguya Marwa, do some machinati Yangadua, which is the Sanjela and Yor Temba Namne, Chi and Jigba. Chiwen Jibale Tarwa Chigre, Etene, Jiba Tamja, Koya Jiba Tamja Tarwa Chigre, Sanjay and Sabateletan, and Tributan the young great.
So it's talking about what kind of effect will come about through relying on such a person as the Buddha just described. And so then it says, those who trust the Buddha will gain freedom from all fears, even the fear of death. So I think His Holiness tells this story also, but Geshe was saying. And it's a group of monks with their guru, and the guru had gone out, and so one monk was asking, one of the followers was asking the others, where did he go? And the reply was, he went out to scare everybody. And so then it was just, it's just, he was making a joke, and then
Bomo. Kengo Kembo.
Oh.
Kebuda Kemutusula.
Oh, yeah. He went out to scare old people. So then, because he's going to teach them about, death and impermanence and all this. So then he went out to scare them. But then that's not, this comes from a misunderstanding of how, that's why it's saying, like, gain freedom from all fears, even the fear of death. Really, when we talk about death, it's not to frighten people. It's to, because once we contemplate death and bring that awareness to our mind that we're going to die, then we're much more conscientious about avoiding harming others and doing whatever we can to help others. And so then, actually, when our death does come, then we're actually, fearless. We don't have any fear that time at the time of death.
Oda kiran shigres na ko su jigi ora lo lenje gerba ko chiwa se de mi ga shigi ora sa ta de kiran shigre de mo do se na ngone na shigre ba da su ina ta mo de shigra ta ina ko chiwa de chu na le chiwa de ta bar shi samlo don se yora o chigre sam de she ta chu sa re so so nang mi ta chi nye ni do ma bu ne ka ga je shigre ka ga ni ma ji ka ga do gre sam de eko deziringa chambada chawa kondrumaje chijil tikba masa yabuje teosegora nimaji kagan rujure segora thashor bate ngone nesur ba ngone membe maranga so samlu tangi yo marma do ngone rwade jako te samlu tangi nimata barje o da tende shigre dire shima so yabure sam o da dire yabure yabuche go samza o dire shima so yabudo asam te o da yabuche go samgeora shiwa de nimata barje ko samlu tangi ora di yungre sam damashi de yabucho sa kewa yabuto degba bangje yabuche geora di de ko tene shigala mongone jwa yina o da dire ngone lepso sam ta ko nyoba yo mare o ta ko 메즈테네 야부제 깨르니 데바사 메케와 야부 줍지 총송 초 야부제 중서 답에 야부니 다체 타르싱송삼 지바이 마르와 카셰 가기 요르시거라 초바데 가시거라 오다 깨와 야부제 라니야 초 야부제서 밀루 야부제 토브레 타쇼삼 가기 요라 카셰데 마가나코 아다 세나메 심데메 시에데 랑시르 고체서요 마레 다이나코 대파 시다사 메케와 야부 줍디중 다케와 야부 질렌지레 그 매삼자 철기 말와 자고 지바 매베샤도와 나 강라 초 냠셈바 강라 네바 예제바 테네 지바 용단에 치다라에 칼란직스도 다와리 시그레 삼젤레가 제den게 미데 시월라데 시기 말에 술라 시기 말에서 치다 단데 시그레스나 고 시기 말에서기도 지바 매바체 로톱체 닝도체 네 개와 10만 루그르 삼테네 테네 시집에 유ring부 삼로 당겨라 유ring부 삼로 단들 개와사 티바 빵체 야드에 삼로 당겨라 이거 닝도 쳔버려요라 단다버 데즈데 네 니마지 삼로지면 니마지 다죠 시그르도 다 가르쳐서 아니 시기요라 페 홉티칼레 남주 삼로 마고 가지 중수 삼제 시기요라
So you can see how this works for a person. I mean, it's all of us. If somebody said you're going to die today, if it came up to all of us would, what do you say, instinctively be afraid. Okay, it's not really talking about that. It's that's a kind of natural feeling we have. But if we contemplate, there's a reason that we bring about an awareness of our death. It's actually very beneficial because you think about death and you come to. I mean, it's actually going to happen. We're going to die. So it's something that's it's a reality. And then then we're bringing a reality to our awareness, and then at that point, then you because you're going to die, then you understand that you're going to separate from everybody and everything, and so then you as you're going to separate, then an awareness of death then helps you to think, well, I'm going to do good towards all these people in my life, and so then the more you cultivate a death awareness, then you get up in the morning and say, oh, I didn't die today. Oh, now I have a chance to do some good again. And so then that happens repeatedly. And so then when the time comes when you say, oh, well, I guess I am going to die today, then you don't have any kind of regrets that time, because you've taken care of, you've done a lot of good, and you have confidence and so then people at that time then they will some of them will just be like, oh, I'm happy, they just are joyful to die, and others just sort of, they're just not worried. It doesn't really, not either way. It's not being anxious about it or being joyful about it is not. It just depends on the person. So then, but what happens is that what has happened is that you have great confidence and courage, because you're looking in the long term. You're seeing, okay, I'm dying then, I'm taking rebirth, and I'm taking another life, and then I'll die again, and then I'll take another life, and you're looking long term, and so that helps one to be courageous and fearless at the time of death. So then you do get this this kind of I think I didn't quite catch what Geshe was. I think he was quoting this one verse. Then this one verse is, just as ordinary people are terrified by the words of the Lord of Death, so the words omniscient one terrify the Lord of Death. This is you're able to face your death with great courage.
Chiwalanjig said, Chidam Mizu Chiwalanjigedi, Tirisura, Tanga Mavchag do some Giora. The Mavchag do some chickche, and it tange Kangbada, Norda, Chala, Chicken, Abdushenja, Shukshambuora, Penyam do Jade Yora. That is a Kanga de Ledu do some Jeko Jipayungiora. Longi Person so Banyan, the Rogbata Kanga, Shah Song. Tanga Mavchag do some Jigiora. Then Jigden Tameva Chidako, Chidang me. Chödantin samlutam machine get to Chivalanjik Tandi Rechera. Naranjo Chivalanjik would Istanbul, or bed there Maridas. Bed there Marin Dogoredas, Chemajin Drosa Yoreside, that Kawajan Dogorese, Kawalansa de Nyawayida and Drew me Lama Sambu Manguyora, or Dina Lichina, Yavumeduase, Tunganya Sarida, Tundu Chason Karching by Nyava Chason Karching. Tunde Samlutangiora. She Chelia, Mavachag, Mavachan, Zora, Kadum came into Ako. Mavachag and Dogiora, take your langura, or Telekiana, and I will do some Jigiora. Kawachimang has on to Kigre, some Telenjigni, Ning has on to make a Swapang, Kawatu Jakota Chigiora, and the Lada Milikiora. Tinduko, Mavachag do some Giomar, called Jabijagora, Sobuti Mavachagora, Sobutan some in Dravachadura, some de Tramoji Shaja and Roshe. Kawalan and Roshagra. So, Thabkhe Jinjik, Mab Chagi Mare, send in now at the Nugduyora. Send this Sobula Tempe Migatoya, Amjo Koyada, Ganga Temperature Dura. But the same Tramoches and Roshagra, Mab Chayomara. Just a sang Gaji, but the Pandre, you were some Kogra. Could that done that send in some meditate, and the man and the beds also some J. Mab Chag to some Giora.
So you have to understand the difference between just how ordinary people think about face death, and where it's just like they haven't thought of that. Ordinary people means that somebody who hasn't considered death and developed an awareness of death, and then the difference between that and somebody who has. And so there's a kind of fear that comes for a person who hasn't contemplated death, and which is natural because they feel that, well, it comes from two different quarters. One is that they feel I'm going to completely be annihilated, so that this feeling about yourself just coming to a complete end, and so that's very frightening. And then there's another thing that terrifies people is especially if they're so what do you say, clinging and embedded in their possessions and in their life and their friends and so forth, and that they're going to separate from them, and this brings a tremendous amount of fear. So that kind of fear is not what's trying to be. When we talk about fearing, fear in relationship to death, for somebody who contemplates death, the fear is not of that kind of fear. It's a fear of, okay, so after death, I could be reborn into as an animal, or I could be reborn as in a hell realm. That's something to be afraid of, and so it's a kind of dread of such kind. It's more like, they use the two words of fear and dread. We can use those together, and dreading that kind of an outcome, but then you're looking on for the long term. You're trying to create a situation where then you can have a fortunate rebirth for repeated lifetimes until you become a Buddha. So you're looking long term, and also there's a confidence that well, I'm not actually going to be annihilated. Of course your body is totally going to be annihilated, and all the preoccupations that you have in this life are all going to go out the door. I mean, you're not going to have any memory of all the things that have been going on in this lifetime. So that happens, but we have this subtle, the mind has a very subtle form, okay, and that subtle form has a continuity, and so there's a continuity of lives that subtle form will be constantly being reborn into. How do we say something like that? We'll take, more and more bodies, right? That's another way of looking at it. But then, we're not going to be annihilated, and there's no fear of total annihilation at the end of one's life. You're looking long term and towards becoming a Buddha through a succession of lives.
Oh yeah. Indu tanda ko shena ko marwa. Chwa yungure sede majiwe kapdi yabu chese. Peshe tigba masa kyo trup shen da chamba tsawa nyamdo ne stish lapse jagyora. Debe tama tanda kimjang da nangme de kanga yabu ruru che de yore. Tama de deg mare tendo gure das kaga sosun dure sede. Dezi ring de yabu che chamba da tsawa shishilo kontu ma do dunge ma de yabu che de se yora. Then Sagba Kunji Tanzi, Sasha Kanga, the Sakala Gap Tungeche, and the Peju May Tishabi and Eco Pandoyamar Tama de Karina, Cheranium do Degma Trend to Resiora. Tin the Combesa de Yabuche Jayet and Dalia. Measure the Dewaje, Kibuch and Kimzan Namisama Jayet and Dalsheora. Dubetama Javare, Tedu with the Esera. Gets a dish with Esiora, Sagba Kanga Zone. Konya Tombra Yagachons and the Tijil Dugati Yungudesiora. Sako Yagachon and Lomba Mavashe, Nadia Mavashe. No Tijil T. Yungre, some Jacob Messi de Yabuche, Rang de Washan de Kibuchi Jesiora. Teachers on a question and Javayamara. She was the Chunira, Sukaya Yama, Sosicibumara, someone called Chunira. 뭐 당겨봐 매섬 전낭 미청마 야우시 대비해서 가시 대두산님도 대 자르시지 잡지데 아니 시선은 뭐가 저도 땡데 전대시라 전대야 말아 시선도 가르뱅이래 콜라팽 말아 소설팽 말아 저 대두 야부 대던달이야 송겨라 지부게 된다 셰겨 말아 지부 매비 야부 요 된다 셰겨라
So this is really death is being pointed out and an awareness of it cultivated so that you're not fearful at the time of death. What is the what is the advice here? It's the advice when you understand, oh, I'm not dying today. So, of course, when it's different when somebody says you're going to die today and then you have to die. But each day that you haven't died, that you're not dying anyway, then that time you can turn your attention towards cultivating some good qualities, cultivating good, doing good, avoiding harm to others, and then so then you make that kind of use of each day. You understand that those, especially with those nearby you, whatever your immediate, quote family, unquote, quote unquote family is, then towards those you cultivate compassion and love and kindness and then so then at the time of your death, then you have so the advice is then to do that, to do that. Otherwise, if you just sort of spend your time accumulating things, okay, and I mean it's either that or accumulate things, and then then if you're accumulating things, then you're going to have to just what do you say, abandon them at the time of your death. So it's and then if you haven't contemplated death, then you're going to be, and you've been fighting with everybody and not getting along, and then at the time of your death you have strong regret and you start pulling your hair out. I mean, what's really the purpose of that? That's not anything helpful, is it? What a waste of So then it's important then to, with this awareness of death, then to use your life in a very, beneficial way.
뭐야? 된대버셔. 어때야 가셔야 돼서 처음에다 봤는데 선바 부수도 버려 제제 배때 선바 자춘중시 된대 차요라. 된대 차야 된다 말와. 그 책에 섬들이 맞지 야보래 지방에 봐요 말고 내려와. 그 내가 된대요 말와. 로시중 요 말게 뒤요 말 된대게 요 말와. 내가 매발에 들이 맞지 야보래서. sambarade yene ko chomeda wasamne gyobashi ejida masamne mashieke marwa busu dogo yake yo marwa shi tineshi maso yakbore asam samgiyora tabarish o de busu dogo cheche kashe chomeda wasamdo o tenesemba lega chini medronge da tenim buke medu sam tende che yo marako busu dogo sigda busu dogo hagora busu dogo big some trade sort of o tende che o maresha 가르스네 시그리섬 님마다바르 템베이나 곤 조바시베 게 마로와 시그마레섬 데네 곤 조바마시에게 마로 코카제 데데 데그레 신네 시그르와코 세 부수도 부체요 마라 오 시그데 덴데게 문네 덴데요 마르사 마시야 우레섬 다 개와 주비에 가르 찬주 셈콤 닝지콤 컨데 개와사에 요랑 앞에 야구리 티레스롬 메두섬 가와제요라 오 딘데제 가와야게네 오 티레시마서 야구레섬다 개와 주비스 네 거르마 부수도 Indonesia da lega maje sigio mara chwa meta pare shembeng ton de lega chegure sosu ton de lega chegure chamba de ning ji kun lan lega mabu yora ke lega mabu che yora
so that's another reaction that some people might have is that they would be very become very anxious to think that they're supposed to think about their death. Okay, that makes them very anxious. This kind of response, though, the way to deal with that is really to sort of think, well, there's no definiteness about death. It's not something that we can say you're definitely. Well, I'm not saying you're definitely going to die today. Who knows when you're going to die? So it's just you have to understand that that's not the intention of it. The intention is just to so that when you, it's really to bring about a kind of joy, a kind of joy, I think is made, or you can say delight, where each morning you wake up and you haven't died and you have a chance to make good use of that day, where you can do good and if you like cultivate virtue, be patient and be loving and caring for others and be kind and it actually there's a lot of virtuous things that you could do during the day. So then you can keep yourself busy doing virtuous and helpful things. So then. In cultivating, your wisdom and cultivating your compassion and these kinds of things, there's no end to it. So then, otherwise, that mind of it's contemplating and cultivating an awareness of death is not to make your mind so anxious, I think, is the translation that I usually use for this, because what it makes is you also become kind of short-sighted, okay, and so you're thinking, well, I won't do anything, I'm going to die, and you're sort of frozen, and very, have an insular kind of outlook. It's to broaden your outlook, and make yourself be, what do you say, joyful that you haven't died today and I have the chance to do some virtue.
Ludan Sora some Tambanisha Kumgora. Some Tambanisha said they could do some de Keji Jibache Kumgora. Some de Keji de Mudo Kodur Jendo de Yora. Yanchi Mendatari Yani could do Mendashi Yanchi Nilam Dagayanda Mendashiko. Jundubache Dodegua. There's some Medaba Samluta de and then Gordelia Tom de Tigrisigua. Some Medaba could Keji Kinji could do the Ruyora. Draw the Yora. Some have a Shagmedua. Yes, a conjure the Bendajan Nilam Data Kavada Yan said the church, draw the Yora. So called Shinatanda, so good dilettante de Yora. Lune dilettante or Tanda, me said Tamba, the Migaton, Amjo Koyarichi or the Yora. That she has some take on Mav Shagra. So wouldn't Jacha do could make it to Amjo yet send it Tambakanga Chendura. In a young Korachi and Rosha Yora. Some called Tarba top to Yores. Some Keji Jigba raising Jura do your deco. Too much of Rosha Grappa. Do you any Joshman Rotine or say Tarbat of Sanje, Jayore, some Jing to Pigdoa. Kashe Mida was some little any or Chirubas or Midawayana, Kejimadu de Marene, Taratoya Yomare, Legace Yomare Sigara. Ko Kejimayina could join the two years in Ruyora. Kejimasonza called Jura Yosa. And ko Yarun Dry doing Kangachi Yora. So Kokeji Mayina, Jundi could two years in Ruyora. Can you send Midaba some little Midawayana, Judah Gang, Jun 2 years in Rona, Joachim do Tarbato, Sanje Jajor some. Teach ya, need to get to Yora. Chibaki, Makecha Yora.
So we have this meditation of the 4 close mindfulnesses, mindfulness of body, mindfulness of mind, and so forth. Under the topic of mindfulness, close mindfulness of mind, when in that you're observing how the mind is a constantly changing from one moment to moment phenomena, but it has continuity. It has so then if you're watching the mind and seeing it in this constant, what do you say, impermanent, momentarily changing state, and whether you go to sleep, or whether you get up in the morning and continue your day, then you get this understanding of the mind as having continuity, and so even though it's impermanent and changing from moment to moment, it has this continuity. And so non-Buddhists tend to feel, well, how can you think about something as being impermanent? Because then, if you're impermanent, then you'd never be able to attain liberation or omniscience. How would that ever happen? You're impermanent. But the idea is that even though impermanent, there's this continuity, okay, from one moment to the next, and so this continuum. So then at the time of death, when you are going to die, then you have because a benefit of having this close mindfulness of which is focused on your mind, then that practice then helps you to have this confidence in that continuity is going to, that continuum will continue from life to life, and through that process, then you reach liberation and finally Buddhahood and so forth. So then it's important to have this a sense of the continuity of the mind.
Yeah. Tanda ko sem meda batan juro chebe sonda sem gi kyon do nyor ta judan kin le ten ko jiyora sem gi yon den do ko ne kon do peshe andre yobate yon to yora.
So then, because the mind is impermanent, then we can, it is subject to transformation, that you can change and reach deeper understandings and develop virtuous states of mind and so forth.
Oh yeah, tangan de sholo ga chi de loginda. Jigden ko la chidata, chidar jigba che jurwa. Tishin ko nji jande ne chidala yan jigba che sigdo. Jadan jigden ko le chida mesulia. Ani shigre se de chida jade ne jigba chi tigre sigora. Jigba che chishu de res sigora. Chidar jigba che jwa. Tishin ko nji jande ne chidala yan jigba che se. Kunjin se sanje se arba, tarba se arba. O tinde tado sanje se o te kyon ganga san yenden sang she arba se de. Ani koe gyudan jigba che gyudu so pa me soya yungu yora. Tishin kunji jande ne chidala yan jigba che se. Kunjin shebe jade ko chida shinji de chi tanga chida shinji se yose ora mi kanga chewala ka chenge de yose yora. O kolin she du de se yora. Jigba ko kunjin shebe jade ti chidala jigba che de se yora. Ale sholo ka chi labden deba woden do.
So the verse then reads, just as ordinary people are terrified by the words Lord of Death, so the words Omniscient One terrify the Lord of Death. So here, so ordinary persons then who, as we've been mentioning, are terrified when they hear that they're going to die, right? So, but then when this is personifying death, and this idea of the Lord of Death, we have kind of a feeling that there's this being that personifies death, and then it's kind of devouring the living and so forth. But so then when this kind of personification of death hears the word Omniscient One or liberation or such things, then this terrifies death.
Oh yeah, dan de debadwa. Didarsa, Jigden Kuna Chidaji Tra, Chidar Jigba Kevar Jurua Teshin Dosidwa. Quinkin Shebe Dandene, Gange Turbale, Nyangel and Dave Kewachan to Jurvese. Quinkin to Sang Jes, Yamamba the Sheje Triba Sang Yoba. Sheje Tamjela Lodru, Nelu Tamje Mamubaje, Lodru Jeju Yoba, Tiko Yora. What do you do? And a Quinkin Shebe Dandene Turbale, Nyangel and Dave Kewachan to Jurbe. Nyamo Kondo Nagela Soba Nyamo, but Nyamo Gonga Sabe Ledo, Nyamo Pangdu or Tagu or the Sidu, and a Tarba you or the Sigora. Rama by Chiguba, Rama by Keguba, Teletargu or the Sigora. O Deco, so Jivombo, Rama Bangabe, the Chidag to Inesigua. Chidag to Sidu. Luda Sonica, Rama Bajaco, Jigdra, Sure. Lenny Wanga Rama. Chivachora, Chidak to Sigdor. Zako Ramaba Chua de Mavis of Yara, Kunjis to Yamun Yorta, Yamose, Yamon, Galesa, what is also, and Tarbato Yora, Ramaba Kichiko with the Yungu Mara, Kunjim to Yora, Chidan Chibaki Yores.
So here, the commentary reads, the words Lord of Death terrify ordinary people. Similarly, just hearing the words Omniscient One endow whoever hears them with the good fortune to attain nirvana, thereby terrifying and subjugating death as well. So what is the meaning here? The meaning is that what is Omniscient One? What is that? That is somebody who has become a Buddha, okay? And becoming a Buddha means that you've completely eliminated all faults and attained all good qualities. So then, when you understand that a Buddha has such that is an enlightened being, then the enlightenment is through hearing that, then you say, oh well, you mean I can actually eliminate all these afflictions, and so then you see the possibility of eliminating all your faults and afflictions, and so then when you eliminate your afflictions, then what that does is that it stops the process of collecting contaminated karma, and then which means then that you won't be reborn and die, and so then it in that sense then it's terrifying to the Lord of Death, because usually we are born. Usually we die helplessly, is maybe a good way of thinking of it. We're just always under the power of something else. We're helpless. But if we eliminate our afflictions and thereby bring about an end to our contaminated karma, then that whole process stops, and we no longer have this kind of helpless death.
Samlu Chinjilo Corne, Meshibe Honga Condanga, Jeda Trado, that Kanga Yungura, Samlu Tamashin Yungura. Sako, when Kings do Sheja Nezu Kanga de Shemba de Yungura, the Meshibe Monga de Tre Yungura. Chinjilo de Tre, the Energy Condanga, Jeda Trado to Yungura. Sako Kunji Shebe Tradegi, and Chida de Lanchipaketa Gures. Kunjins tried to Tubada, Samba Combation get to the Nisha Tamjashin, you have a Kawachan to Yurgare. Kushaja Tamjanezu Kanga Shinsona, Radeva Yonji Yukara, Tungayanji Yukara Kanga Hakosona, Rama Basho de Yungumara. The Kunjipachigres, Mishibangi Yungara, the Kunji Kanga Shimpache, the Yore, Shimpachigans, Chidan Chipachigres, and the Connecticut.
So you can understand just from the word omniscient one. Why would it be omniscient one? Omniscience is really this completely opposed to our. Is the opposite of our ignorance. Okay, so ignorance is really at the root of all our afflictions, like attachment, hostility, and so forth, are come about because of simply not knowing. And not knowing here just means that we're thinking in the wrong way. We're misconceiving things, and so then. So then, omniscience would then be, and knowing means knowing all. So it's just the opposite of that kind of a state. So then, we can understand that through it's through this kind of the wisdom of omniscience then that would be eliminating eliminating our ignorance, eliminating all the afflictions that keep us in this kind of helpless state of helpless rebirth, and so then if it's possible, then through hearing the word omniscient one, we understand. Oh, it's possible to completely get rid of these afflictions and our ignorance, and so then attain this state of complete omniscience, and so then that kind of freedom from a helpless rebirth is something that then would we can understand as being would be terrifying to the Lord of Death. Okay, that Gamanat, it is.
Oh yeah, that is. That did the Nangani di Loshanera. Chidarin Jignakunla, Chida Gita, Chidarin Jiba Keber, Eurotation, do Kungin Shibe, Dandene Kangi, Turbales, Kunkin Sanje Shibe, the Turba Sambisiora, Yangel and Debe Kavachan to Jube, Namukanga say, Mishibe Moba, Sandra, that in the Kavachan to Jure Sigora, Kansati Sigora. They do Marazo. Sheje nezu shea ko teba da samba komba temba shila soba meta dunga tonda mila soba teba chamba nyingila soba teba da samba komba chenge to teleja chidal jikba kigira jikba kiwe keba chandu jurgire esgara oh yeah so chidal jikba kede chidan jomba chero teda chidan jom to gures chidan
so it would means you're able to when we see this through it means that we're able to subjugate. When terrifying the Lord of Death means terrified death, it means that we're able to subjugate death. So then, certainly, an omniscient person is able to do that. But even somebody who is carefully cultivating an understanding of the Four Noble Truths and so forth, then that kind of a person is also because they will be free of this helpless kind of dying. Then that is also terrifying to death.
Buddha se sang Geshe Chen Töber Juva Teda Tamje Jan Tekba Sumle se Nyande Ranje Tekjenji Tekba Sumle Kanyan Ronga Shigi Yonso Nyangelen Dawaran Gyuro se sang Geshe de Kyongkanga sang Gyore Sheje de Yonde Tamje Jeju Yore Sheje Tamje Shinju Yore se de Töba Tamje Sanje Chen Töba Tamje Sungora Ane Mamabana Nyande Ranje Tungele Tarbet Gyawachandi Gyurgire se Ode Sanje Sungba Nashin Anzu Töba Che Samba Che Nyane Yando Nye Shushe Kante She de Tilajan Gyurgirwa Oh yeah
So then the sutra here says, those who hear my name will, this is the Buddha speaking, those who hear my name will attain nirvana in any of the three vehicles. So hearing one's name means, hearing the Buddha's name means hearing the word, well, in Tibetan it's Sangye, okay? And so Buddha, or awakened one in that, or enlightened one in that context, means somebody who's completely eliminated all faults and has attained all knowledge and good qualities. So when the Buddha is saying this, then he's saying that somebody who understands that is possible, then will be able to attain nirvana in any of the three vehicles, any of the vehicles that the Buddha taught. And not just that anybody, it's not in addition to attaining nirvana. It means you'll be able, if you study and think about the teachings and meditate on them, then you will attain this kind of good quality of being free of death.
No, yeah. Pena gebu shila puche badan chen tamje tangwa dil jak badan bang namla kawa geba shino sidwa. Tangi melo se gebu to zlia pume ba je punde chi chi keso na. Oda ko jejun simge mango bana gebu chenge shungza konzo kabu shi da yongora. Ene mema kangal ko chamba to kanga. Chamba hakuro. Chamba to kanga phalle. Ene ta chamba to kanga nge tanga ye tinde shi ne mi kanga kabu che o da yabu shi chung su se kawa geba chi do as. O di na shi ko chiva shibe tadege jibake sangye shibe tadege chidal jibake yan sangye shibe tatenge so chidal jibake zo ya shenda to ya teba samba chinge zo kawake tindil chachora.
So the example is just like when a king, you're ready to the end, yeah. When a king when a king has a son, that means that he has an heir, and so then he'll of course be very pleased and rejoice and be joyful, and then he'll decree. And then the example is that he frees all the prisoners from his prison, and so of course all his subjects then would be very happy. And so it's the same idea that when we hear about the name of the Buddha, when we hear enlightened one or awakened one, then this awakens in us a certain joy, and we can hear, because we know that we can study and reflect and meditate on the teaching. So we'll stop there at the end of on page 135.